So they have a competition for all the technicians annually, and they select the 12 best technicians globally in the world, and they'll all convene at the factory in Italy, and then they have a series of tests, written and practical, pretty high-pressure event. It's all timed, and it's essentially designed to make you fail, and the winner is whoever fails the least. So it's not a test that you walk away from feeling good.
Sure.
You walk away like feeling like you just dropped the ball. So they call that the Testa Rossa Awards. And when I first started with Ferrari as an entry-level tech, I was in new tech training, and they showed a video like that Ferrari puts together of it. And I saw that, and I saw how the instructor was talking about this competition and the people competing. And for me, instantly, I'm like, I need to do that. Like, what? That's for me. And it's only for master technicians. So I was a new entry-level technician, so I wasn't eligible. But it was something I worked for from that moment forward, and I made it known. So like my boss knew, and a lot of people knew that was a goal. And it was, segmented goals. I wanted to get there first. That was the first thing. And I had qualified before I was eligible, and I still couldn't go. And then I finally did. The first year I was eligible, I qualified and went.
Yep.
And it was really, okay, so now I went there and I did it, and I was just happy to be there the first year.
Right.
And I ended up placing in third, which for me was kind of validation, like, okay, I belong here. But I saw how much further I needed to go to compete against these other guys, because they're amazing. These other guys from around the world, and you see these other technicians, and you're just like, okay, this is going to be harder than I thought. But I achieved that initial goal, continued working. I went 2 more times, did not succeed. And then on my 4th attempt, finally got there and won the competition.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I bring that up first because when you first started at Ferrari, I think it's important to know that you saw that video, and there was work, right? You had day-to-day work you had to focus on, but then you had this kind of long-term vision and goal of competing in this. So like, how did you balance the ambition of arriving in Italy to do this competition, but also that you had day-to-day responsibilities within your job?
So I was incredibly fortunate at the dealer I ended up with, specifically my service manager. So I had a service manager that he was like the first service manager I ever had that believed in me as a technician. And that got me, like, he was able to extract more from me than any other person was, because when I knew that he believed in me, I had his support. So it was easier for me to go further than I thought I could go. And he really encouraged. There's a good example. There's certain times. So I'd be working on a car and doing a repair. And let's say I'm replacing a certain module. I had the benefit of going to him and saying, hey, I just put this part on. I'm done with this car. But do you mind if I spend a couple hours messing around, because I have access to this electrical network? I want to start shorting some wires out. I want to unplug this module. I just want to experiment, and I want to see how the car responds, so I understand what I'm doing. And he was completely on board with it. And he's like, yep, take all the time you need, because he understood the power of the knowledge that I was gaining and what that did for the entire shop. So he knew that, yeah, it's a short-term loss. I'm not producing anything for that minute, but he knew for the shop long-term, it was a massive gain. So I was really enabled to do that, but I also did spend time coming in on my own time on the weekends preparing for the test, where I would work on cars, take them apart, bug them. I even went as far as having one of my coworkers induce failures into the car and not tell me. Then I came in and tried to solve it, and kind of replicating what I'd have to go through during the test. So I put through a lot of like hands-on practical time on my own time working on cars, and then a tremendous amount of studying outside of work. So lunch breaks at home, I have binders dedicated to it. So it was something that I committed a tremendous amount of time to. It consumed me for years.
Yeah, and you still had passion for it, right? Like there was maybe not the studying as much, but a passion for the actual craftsmanship of a Ferrari. Is that kind of what kind of kept you intrigued, or was there a different motivator?
I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of things for the motivators of it. I think once I got there and saw the competition, it was a goal. And then I think once I got to the competition, I knew that I just needed to learn Ferrari. I had confidence in my existing knowledge of what I knew, but I needed to learn the brand. And I had full confidence in myself that I wanted it more than the other people. So I knew it was just a matter of outworking them. So I was confident that I was going to get there and win it at some point, because I knew that I was just willing to grind harder than anyone else was in order to get there. So it was really just to outwork them type of thing, which in the end is what it turned out to be, because the year that I won it, I was far more prepared than anybody else. So as I said earlier, on a test that's designed for you to fail, I walked out of there, which was my ultimate goal in this competition. Yes, it is the win, but I always wanted to beat the test. So it was never beating the other technicians there. I always figured if I beat the test, I will win. So it was always me versus the test. I was preparing for the test, not the other technicians. And the year that I won, it was very weird because I walked out of there calm and relaxed, and it's like I knew that I beat the test.
Yeah.
And all the other years, it wasn't that way. So it was, I mean, part luck because the test hit areas that I knew, but I was far more prepared than them. But that all comes back to the work that I did months beforehand.
Right. Or the years previous. I mean, to show up for the fourth time, like, how did you stay encouraged? You know, some people would be like, oh, you know, I've been like 3 times now and I didn't win and I'm discouraged, or I quit. I mean, I don't hear a quit in you at all, but
so that's,
what kept you encouraged?
That's actually interesting because obviously the first year I go, I'm super encouraged and I place. So then I'm like really rip roaring and ready to go for the second year. And the second year I went and they changed the format of the testing and they kind of made it like brackets. So I ended up going out real early. And I'm like, okay, it's okay, that's fine. But the way it worked is they actually let us watch the other technicians do their practical tests. So like they were diagnosing a bugged car and we were kind of behind a glass wall and we got to watch the technicians do it. And I was able to instantly be like, oh, I don't even have a chance. Like these guys are like absolutely know what they're doing, because I vividly remember watching the finals, the 2 technicians, the guy that won and the guy that was in second place or got second. And they were doing the same things, but the guy that got second place had to stop and think about what he needed to do and what he was going to do next. And the guy that won, his brain was already on to step 2 and 3 while his hands were still on step 1. And it looked like it was rehearsed. And I was like, okay, I have a long ways to go. So on that trip, I actually was incredibly encouraged. And I was actually still, believe it or not, studying on the flight back home, continuing the study, and just like, I'm on a plane, why not? The third year was not a good year. And I came away very discouraged for that for a lot of reasons. And I was actually it wasn't good. So I went there and it wasn't a good experience. And I was very discouraged by it. And I didn't study as much throughout that third year. And once I found out I was going again, I started ramping up the studying. But the fourth year that I went there, I actually wasn't holding on so tight. So I was much more relaxed because in all the first 3 years, I was so focused and so uptight about winning. And they make this, it's not just a test, there's a whole event where they take us and we're actually driving cars on a track and they're wining and dining us. And they're, it's a multiple day event. And I was so focused on the competition that I was kind of shorting myself on the experience. And you're meeting other technicians from around the world that have the exact same interest and knowledge that you do. And you're trying to navigate through language barriers and talk to each other because there's an instant mutual respect that you have. The fourth year that I went there, I was like, you know what? I've been here 3 times. Like, I don't really have much to prove to anyone else. I'm just going to be sure that I have a good time and have a good experience. And I was fortunate where it's a small group of the technicians that continually do this event, because it's kind of the group that do what I do, that study and practice and actually kind of put a lot of time into it. It's not really you just kind of get selected and go. Some people do, but there's a core group of guys that they work towards it year round. So there's some guys that I was looking forward to seeing that I know. So I was like, I just want to go there and have a good time with them and have a good event. And the whole event was like the most memorable that I had. And it just worked out that was the year that I won. So something could be said if I was more relaxed or not holding on so tight, that I just went in there and it was my year.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. And I think whether you knew it or not, there's just lessons learned, right? Like here's what I gained the first time, and the gained I said the second time, and then the third time, this is how I felt. And, I think that all of us will ultimately go through those experiences, and you just don't have that reflection until you experience it. So you hit this award, right? You kind of, some people would say, oh, I made it.
Yep.
But you've said to us before, yeah, that's not how I felt. It was kind of validation of I know what I know type of thing. And you kind of feel maybe some weight off your shoulders of, what it meant to win. But it was more of like, you've proved to yourself that you can do it.